You just look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients in here. The 2,000 of the glutamine, Dehan, is a little bit different from some of the competitors that are 5 and 6,000.
Right.
And Dr. Stangler believes, and maybe you can note this and talk to your listeners about this.
Okay.
He believes that using 2,000 is going to be better than using a 5,000, 6,000 at one time. To maybe you might be inclined to get what you're trying to avoid: gas and bloating
Oh,
and cramps with a high amount of glutamine. The patented ingredient, it's called something called mucosade. And the mucosade is basically comprised of prickly pear cactus pad, which your listeners should really know what that's all about. Prickly
okay.
pear cactus pad, the cladote, so very like aloe vera leaf, very mucilagenic, and olive leaf. Okay, so those two create a mucoadhesive, so protecting the upper intestinal wall. So that's why they can be taken in conjunction.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Healthy Habit Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dayon, and we're in for our check-in here today with Emerald Labs, episode number 105 with Stacy Faulkner. Welcome back to the podcast here, Stacy, where we're going to be diving deep here into gut health, and we're going to see what products are offered to us from Emerald Labs, the additive-free company. Stacy's worked in the natural health industry since 2000 as a national educator for Emerald Labs. Stacy provides insight and understanding to those seeking information regarding better health through proper supplementation and self-care. And I'm excited to dive deep into this one. We have a nice PowerPoint ready for everybody today to follow along with on YouTube. If you're listening through audio like customers in the store, you can always go back and check the video version out later. Stacy, how are we doing for episode 105?
We're doing good today. Thank you. I'm
We're
happy to
doing good.
be here with you again and have a good discussion on gut health.
And why did you choose to highlight that for today? Why is this an
Well,
important topic?
it is a new product of ours, and we've already heard so many amazing testimonials from people. I've tried it myself. The more that I dive deep into leaky gut, it seems that almost all of us have some form of a leaky gut.
Right.
That seems to be more and more prevalent in people. So I'm thinking that having this discussion, people can be aware of what is going on, either localized, systemically, what they're feeling, and perhaps we can lead them to some supplementation that could really, help them out and start to heal that gut.
Right. And so if you look at all the Emerald Labs products, would you say gut health has been some of the most popular ones over the years compared to, let's
Yeah,
say,
I would
vitamin C?
definitely say that.
For all the products that are offered through the line, you would say gut health has been popular?
I would say it has become so much more prevalent, but since the pandemic for some reason. So I don't know if people are overindulging, overdoing
Right.
it. Um, I think, food quality is really important, but everything that goes into the system has got to be processed, right? And
Yeah.
it's got to be going through the small intestine, and eventually, I mean, the liver is at work. And so I think that the small intestine needs to be really talked about right now, because the liver always gets a lot of the talk. But
Right.
yeah.
So let's dive right into it. Folks, if you want to follow along, you can even go to emeraldlabs.com. That's a good website to bookmark there on so you have handy. You can check out all the products that we're discussing. And by the way, before we get into this, you can come talk to Stan, the demo man. He's demoing all products here from Emerald Labs. He has coupons and offers, and he's right here at the store Tuesday through Saturday here at Healthy Habit Health Foods at 6029 North 7th Street. Tell us about the Leaky Gut Health with quercetin in here, Stacy.
So this is the product. Right away, you can see that's a 2-month supply.
Yeah.
Right away, we're showing the consumer at the shelf level that the driver in here is going to be one of the drivers in here. The ingredient is going to be a patented quercetin phytosome called Quercifit.
Mm-hmm.
Also for the consumer, and we can go through this at the end. I put it down at the end for you, that these are doctor formulated by Dr. Mark Stangler. Another thing is, Dayon, is Dr. Stangler's just written the holistic guide to gut health. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
coming out in April. He's actually doing a book signing today at Expo West. And so this has been really prevalent. And with him, it's a great book. I've read it, and it seems to be affecting a lot of people. So hence, when we're looking at formulations, product development, what Dr. Stangler is doing is he's seeing an uptick in his patients at the Stangler Institute here in
Right.
Encinitas. And so when he sees an uptick, he goes right away to look at cutting edge ingredients formulations of what would be beneficial, synergistically to work together. Obviously, all natural, gluten-free, additive-free. Patented ingredients are super important because they're science-backed. So they're going to do what they say they're going to do. Once it puts a formula together, then he can start to really see how it's working with his patients. And then we can get into the hands of the average consumer.
Right.
So here we are. Okay. The beautiful, the beautiful small intestine. So apparently the small intestine is about the length of 2 tennis courts.
Mm.
So that being said, that's a lot of that's a lot of tubing
A lot of
for everything
tennis.
to go through.
Yeah.
Two
Right.
tennis courts. And also, excuse me, also it's surrounded by 4 different layers, the outermost layer being the epithelial cells. And so when these 4 layers, see how it's all grouped into our little gut? So that's a lot of tubing. When you start to look at all of it together, it starts to create these little folds. And these folds are also called crypts, right? But it creates these folds. And so this is where we want to create a protective barrier, keep those 4 barriers protected. And what we're looking at with leaky gut is a permeable barrier, intestinal permeability. And so we do not want any foreign toxins or diet or stress to affect our folds, what we call tight junctions, to get loose and be able to let foreign invaders in, like toxins, food particles, infections,
Mm-hmm.
dysbiosis. And so this is a really problematic thing that's happening, is because this gut is getting the fortress is not becoming as
As strong.
secure, as strong. And think
Interesting.
about a castle, right? Or fortress with the drawbridge is open and the moat is not being protected by the soldiers.
Right.
I think this is a big deal. And so here we're showing you here that we've got, let's scoot over here. So we've illuminated the outer mucosa, okay, mucus. So the whole thing is about mucin and mucosal
Yeah.
protection, okay? So the outer look, and then we got the inner, and so that's where the epithelial cells I was talking about, and the stem cells are the inside. And so what we really need to do is keep those the junctions tight. And when the junctions are tight, nothing can get in. So when we're looking at, these the little villi, the stem cells. And so we're just really trying to keep those junctions tight. And a lot of, antibiotics, drugs, infections, bad food diet, etc., toxins can really loosen these junctions and allow them to get through the epithelial cells, through the junctions,
Yeah.
either paracellular or transcellular, and then it gets into the mucosa, and then we do not want it to get into the bloodstream, because then we might be looking at Crohn's, IBS, some really some big issues that are really even more difficult to heal. And this
Right.
product of Leaky Gut Health is definitely a healing product.
Right. And you
So
could
go
see
ahead.
all the different, yeah, the different ways that this lining can get damaged, right? Leaky gut,
Yeah.
and the hence, because it's such a thin layer, thin cellular layer here through the digestive tract, so it's easy to quickly reach the bloodstream. All these particles that aren't supposed to be in the bloodstream, right?
And if you want to explain that to your listeners, that is what the whole goal is to not get
Yeah.
through the mucosal lining into the bloodstream. And you can explain to them, as a doctor, like
Yeah.
why, this is so damaging. Because to
Yeah.
me, it just causes further frustrations.
Right. It's getting prematurely into the bloodstream when it's supposed to keep going through the digestive tract, right? And absorbed in different areas of the body. Now it's entering the bloodstream. So the immune system just ramps up. It starts fighting all these different particles that are coming in that aren't supposed to be in the bloodstream, right? So that can be a
Right.
common cause of autoimmune diseases. It can start in the gut when people are having this leaky gut, or also known as intestinal permeability, through all these
Right.
different things. It could be diet, it's not always that though. Stress. I'm glad stress is on this list. That's incredible. Excess medications. We have several patients that are on at least 10 medications. That's very common in America. So all these different things can contribute. And here's a way of looking at that visually.
Yeah, so
So
this is this is a great picture. This is really showing on the left side. Those are normal, healthy, tight junctions. Okay, this is
yeah,
where we want them. So the fortress is sealed and protected. On the right-hand side, we're looking at, leaky and inflamed. And so there's two things that happen with it, when there's increased permeability, there's two things that are happening. It's like an inflammatory response an immune response. So it's a reaction in the intestinal cells, which cause that localized damage, right?
You're right.
And then we've also got the second thing that happens is going to be systemic. So the molecules that should not be absorbed, like what you were just explaining, into the bloodstream through the gut wall, make their way through the mucosal lining, through into the bloodstream, and then that systemic reaction, like you're talking about autoimmune diseases. Once we see this list, this list is huge. What leaky gut can do to cause many, diseases
Right.
for patients for people.
Here's another way of looking at that with a
Another
normal
way,
gut,
yeah.
leaky gut.
So the
Interesting.
transcellular, it goes through between the little junctions, and
Right.
then the transcellular goes right through the middle, which is pretty dangerous, and then the paracellular goes right through the sides of it. So again,
Interesting.
inflammation and immune reaction, normal tight junction, nothing get into the mucosal lining and into the bloodstream, which we do not want.
Yeah. And then another way of looking at all the different root causes, just naturally aging itself can
Yeah,
happen because the stomach acid gets weaker, and then it's going to help. It's going to prevent proper digestion of food, and then as it gets down in there, that can also contribute to inflammation in the gut if it's not getting digested through the stomach properly. The foods and drinks that we're having, all these different things can contribute. Really interesting. And if
right.
anybody's watching this and wants a copy of this PowerPoint, we can get it to them, right, Stacy? If they email us,
Sure,
maybe we can
sure.
send it over somehow. We'll
I
figure
don't know
that
if you
out.
can put it on your website, but now it looks like some of the on the left is missing, but we're just looking at
There it is.
I mean, just getting the toxins and the bacteria and that leak into the bloodstream. This is what we're looking at as far as inflammatory diseases. Um, like we said, we're talking about triggering the inflammation. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's the feelings that somebody would get would be bloating, gas, cramps, food sensitivities, headaches, joint pain. I mean, this list is pretty amazing. Liver cirrhosis,
Yeah.
chronic depression, 1 and 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Um, oh my gosh, diabetes, autoimmune, rheumatoid arthritis, another autoimmune, systemic lupus, autoimmune, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, psychiatric disorders, stress related,
Yeah. All
IBS. We talked about that.
all connected to that leaky gut,
Yeah,
inflammation in that gut. There you go. So
celiac
let's
disease.
break down this leaky gut doctor formulated formula here with quercetin phytosome. Tell us about it.
Well, the quercetin basically is a patented ingredient that we purchase, that we do as we sell as a standalone, and we also incorporate it with 10 milligrams of zinc. There's just been so many studies on quercetin. It is this company specifically because it's poorly absorbed by the human body. This company specifically puts it as a concentrate into a sunflower lecithin bubble, so a phytosome, and so that's why it's called quercetin phytosome because it's more easily, excuse me, more easily absorbed. Okay. And so we're looking at this quercetin really helps with the tight junctions like an L-glutamine does. And so for chronic inflammation, it leads to just really protecting that intestinal barrier function
Yeah.
that we do not want to have that inflammation occur. And like we were talking about, immune function gets compromised, the intestinal barrier gets compromised. And this quercetin is an antioxidant. It's an anti-inflammatory. All right. It promotes the assembly of the tight junctions and it remodels the tight junctions. And this is from the journal, the Nutrients Journal. So
Right.
this has been studied. It enhances the barrier integrity. So that the whole intestinal barrier, we talked about it as 4 layers, and the last one is the epithelial cells. So the whole thing is about protecting. It also reduces you know, uh, mast cell histamines. So it reduces the histamines and it improves the gut health overall. So I believe quercetin is something that everybody should take almost every day.
Right.
This is a patented ingredient. And so antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and just think about tightening those junctions like the L-glutamine.
Right. This might even help with constipation potentially with some of that aloe vera in there. It's going to hit multiple angles of gut health. And so that this is going to be
Oh
a
yeah.
good comprehensive
So
formula.
the glutamine itself promotes the small cell intestinal cell proliferation. It regulates the tight junctions. A lot of people know glutamine to help with leaky gut because it's known for regulating the tight junctions.
Right.
It reduces the inflammatory pathways and increases um, the healthy microbiota. And that's the bottom line that listeners need to know is increasing that microbiota. And then the deglycerized licorice is healing and soothing, like the aloe vera, healing and soothing. We're keeping, and the slippery elm and the marshmallow, those guys are all, we're looking at mucilagenic, properties with these guys. And the DGL also protects against the damage and also helps create the tight junction proteins as well. And then inflammatory markers are reduced with the deglycerized licorice, and those are known to cause the gut damage.
Yeah.
So DGL also stimulates mucin secretion or mucin, however you want to say it, mucin secretions by the stomach and the intestine. The slippery elm contains mucilages, especially when it touches water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when it's combined with water, it results in a really slick gel. So that coats and soothes the throat and the intestines.
Yeah.
And the marshmallow, again, it's used for soothing the mucous membranes. It's got healing effects, especially on the activity of the epithelial cells. And so we've been using marshmallow and slippery elm in herbology forever.
Right.
And then the aloe vera extract, again, this can inhibit ulcer formation, like you said, also good for to reduce constipation. It's got a positive effect on colitis, and it's really those polysaccharides that are really helping out. But aloe vera has been used forever
Right. And
to really also treat IBS, which has been been very effective for us. So when you just look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients in here, the 2,000 of the glutamine, Dehan, is a little bit different from some of the competitors that are 5 and 6,000.
right.
And Dr. Stangler believes, and maybe you can note this and talk to your listeners about this.
Okay.
He believes that using 2,000 is going to be better than using a 5,000, 6,000 at one time. To maybe you might be inclined to get what you're trying to avoid: gas and bloating
Oh.
and cramps with a high amount of glutamine. What do you say for that?
Right. So that brings up the topic of not taking enough of a certain nutrient and then saying it doesn't work. Right. So you have to hit what the data is saying is actually being useful to actually help with symptoms. You might, if you're doing only a gram, you might not be cutting it. So you see one scoop here, which is about 3 grams total, gives you 2 grams of the glutamine. So I agree completely with that. People sometimes don't take enough. For example, other herbal products too, they might take 1 dropper full for the whole day of a liquid tincture, but it just wasn't enough to help to actually move the needle with reducing symptoms. So yes, I agree. You might not be taking enough.
And look at the dosing, Dayon. It's 1 3-gram scoop. So it's 1 scoop. Now, if you have some chronic issues or very acute, whatever, if you've got some issues going on, you can take it twice a day, or you
Okay.
can do a heavy scoop. And what I like to do is I put it in just with my shaker with all the rest of the stuff. But it tastes really, really good. It's a very fine powder. It tastes like kind of like an herbal iced tea. It dissolves really easily.
Yeah.
And it's probably the little sweetness is probably coming from the marshmallow. And for listeners, or people that are going to watch this, the other ingredient is just NONE.
Right.
Period. It says period at the, or it has a
Yeah.
period at the end. So
The
absolutely
period.
none being additive free. So this product is good for long-term use. They can also take it with the reflux health if they're experiencing a lot of acid reflux or gastroesophageal reflux, symptoms like GERD.
Yeah.
This can be taken in conjunction. And those are both healing supplements for somebody that's really got an issue. We're trying to avoid people from getting on proton pump inhibitors. We're trying to avoid, ulcerative colitis, IBS, Crohn's, because then it's really going no back. And, no, you're not able to really properly go back with your foods, or if you're really involved with your triggers. You really want to look at inflammation before it looks at scarring, right?
Right. Right.
So your triggers would be caffeine, sugar, spicy food, alcohol, citrus peel or citrus fruits, tomato sauces, things like that. And if you spicy food, and if you get past the point of inflammation, especially in your esophageal wall and the inflammation in your small intestine, right?
Yeah.
You can no longer go that. You might as well start to think about yogurt, a lot of yogurt,
Sure.
and
Right.
eating very digestible foods, like kitchery, just things like that that are really easily digestible.
Right. No, thanks for breaking that down for us, Stacy. We're talking with Stacy Faulkner here for episode 105, Emerald Labs, folks, the additive-free company. Again, come talk to Stan, the demo man. And just a reminder, Stacy, this is playing right now as they're shopping in the store. Customers are hearing us, so this is helping them to guide, towards the right product here, especially for their gut health. And you mentioned there's a different product called Reflux Health. So we'll
Yeah.
get into that in just a moment. But one thing I want to highlight, the benefits of taking a powder like this instead of capsules, tablets, or other liquids maybe, is that none ingredient, right? You highlighted that at the very bottom of the
And then at
label.
the very bottom, it shows the consumers if you go, I
So,
think one more, if you go one more down, I think
yeah,
you're going to see, they can see right away that the value added is it's a 2 month supply at, I believe, at $45, depending on what store pricing is. The
yeah,
competitor is a 1 month supply at a $40 price point. The 3 gram scoop, additive-free, non-GMO, doctor
right,
formulated, Dr. Mark Singler, naturopathic medical doctor. His new book is coming out in April for the holistic guide to leaky gut health, which is so informative.
yeah,
Gluten-free, common allergen-free, and of course, since it's formulated by Dr. Stangler, clinical potency. So if we leave anybody with anything, this leaky gut health should be in your kitchen cabinet. It should be something you do first thing in the morning.
yeah,
And because this is a healing product, and pretty much would you agree, Jehan, with
yeah.
your patients and what you know that most people are walking around with some kind of leaky gut?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Functions?
Especially with the rise of autoimmune diseases that are going on, that's a key contributor is the gut. That's the first place that's affected, and a lot of people, even though they're having other symptoms, they might not feel it in the gut. That's where it starts, and then it spread because it hits the bloodstream, like you were saying, and then it can spread to other areas of the body. These different foreign invaders that come
And
through
then
the gut, through the
you
leaky
remember
gut.
the
So,
black and white picture that you pulled up? The black and
oops,
white, it shows you the
yeah,
different levels all the way through. One of the bottom ones will show you antibodies. And so you can explain to your consumers, it's so important our body needs to create these healthy antibodies for foreign invaders that are coming up. The next, yeah, the one with the U, like next,
right
that
there,
one. See
yeah,
the antibodies got right there. I think it's important to explain that our body creates some natural antibodies when we get these foreign invaders coming in.
that's
And
right,
foreign invaders could be the infections, the toxins, and it's going to fight it off. But whatever's happening with our environmental toxicity or the xenoestrogens or the plastics,
yeah,
plasticity stuff, this is what's causing more and more autoimmune diseases, which is leaking or weakening our junctions, loosening them. They're no longer the tight proteins they should be. And then we have an issue of the antibodies turning rogue, which is what an autoimmune disease, if you want to explain that to
right.
them.
No, that you said it. That's
Okay.
incredible. The antibodies are literally being formed, and that's an autoimmune. Well, it's an immune component, right? So then, if you have all these antibodies that are coming in that aren't supposed to be there, then it can start attacking the thyroid and other joints, hence rheumatoid arthritis, and then different types of autoimmune thyroid diseases and all that from there. So that's where genetics can then kind of determine
Sure.
which antibody is going to affect which organ.
And we're
So
seeing a huge uptick in Hashimoto's, just not in middle-aged women, but
right,
younger women, men, and kids between 12 and 17. There's like a 5% uptick on that. So that's another weird autoimmune disease that
yeah,
traditional allopathic doctors don't even recognize.
yeah,
That again can be attributed. You've got to have a healthy gut, right, Dehan? Because a
yeah.
healthy gut is going to lead to a healthy mind. And these are so interconnected that people really need to take care of their gut.
Healthy gut, happy life, right? Or is it
Yeah.
happy wife, happy life, or is it happy gut, happy life?
Well, I've heard of happy wife, happy life,
Uh
but I've heard of
huh.
happy gut, happy mind,
Yes,
happy health, happy thoughts,
right.
healthy gut. We've always said happy, healthy pooper is a happy person.
There we go. No, that makes sense. And we're eliminating properly. We're moving all those toxins out of the
Absolutely.
body.
Yeah. Thank you.
So today we highlighted in episode 105 the Leaky Gut Health formula through Emerald Labs. Maybe just introduce how reflux can be different, and then we can kind of set the stage for next time we have you on for our check-in, for the monthly
Sure.
check-in.
Sure. Yeah.
Introduce the difference then for people that are shopping in right now. Do I have leaky gut, or is it just a reflux problem?
Right. So if you're feeling acid reflux coming up, if you're eating late, if you're taking in these triggers like red wine, spicy food, and then you're trying to lie flat,
Yeah,
and unfortunately the lower esophageal sphincter starts to loosen, and so our stomach acid is not properly, doing its thing by keeping everything down. It goes up through the esophageal wall, and then that lower esophageal sphincter loosens with age, with lifestyle choices, with people that have a lot of regurgitation that happens. And so it starts to inflame the esophageal wall and causes a lot of acid reflux. People hearing this would say, oh, yeah, so burning, acid. So the reflux health is very similar with some of the ingredients. Deglycerized licorice, okay, so creating the mucin and the protection of the esophageal wall.
Yeah.
The aloe vera extract, again, polysaccharide, the sugar is protecting the esophageal wall. And then the driver in that, besides the quercetin that's in the Leaky Gut Health as the patented ingredient, it's called something called mucosave. And the mucosave is basically comprised of prickly pear cactus pad, which your listeners should really know what that's all about. Prickly
Okay.
pear cactus pad, the cladode, so very like aloe vera leaf, very mucilagenic, and olive leaf. Okay, so those two create a mucoadhesive, so protecting the upper intestinal wall. So that's why they can be taken in conjunction. So keeping the acid suppressed, staying off a Pepsid or a Prilosec or famotidine, of course, or omeprazole, super
Right.
important because they are being proven to be very dangerous, and they're not supposed to be taken for very long at all because it's suppressing your stomach acid, which then you don't get your nutrients out of your food to absorb into your bones and your organs where it's needed. So a lot
Wow.
of times people with GERD are being diagnosed with osteoporosis, leaky gut, osteoporosis. So we need those nutrients, we need our stomach acid. And
Right.
so this is why I've talked about this so passionately. They can be taken in conjunction because
Okay.
it's pretty much an epidemic um, with Americans with acid reflux, GERD, and leaky gut right now. And so we just need to kind of go back. Dr. Stengler highly recommends a Mediterranean diet. It's very good. And we just really need to get away from the processed foods. And I believe those processed foods are what? Full of glutamates, like very just processed foods are
Oh yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great place to end it there. The three hashtags for today. Every episode I have three hashtags. It's going to be hashtag leaky gut, hashtag autoimmune, and then a reflux hashtag as well. So, Stacy, I appreciate you. We all do here at Emerald Labs. We're
Next time.
promoting, we use these products both clinically, Dr. Aaron and I, as well as customers in our store love Emerald Labs and the cleanliness of the products, the
Right.
minimal additives, that the additive free
And the
company. There
fair
you
minded
go.
price. Yeah. Added a free fair
Yes.
minded price
The
superior ingredients.
amount that
And
you get. Yeah.
one other thing, Dehan, is that if you ever see something going on with your patients or people are talking about something, they're like, huh, we can do topics like that and go with that too.
Of course. Oh yeah,
What
and
you're seeing an uptick in your own
that's right.
patients,
We're always
you know,
listening. We're always trying to do that. Exactly. And I'll highlight stuff that this has been
see what we
popular in
can
the
find
store.
in the Emerald repertoire.
No question,
That's
because we got a
great.
great picture of the whole society with who comes through that store, of what kind of conditions are out there. Since we're in Central Phoenix, we
Yeah,
get a good picture of what's really happening on a nationwide scale. And so,
I love
thank you,
that.
Stacy. We'll leave it there, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.
Okay, until next time. Bye, Dan. Next month.